I have told that in the c-speed of the light we have a model, electromagnetic model of the advancing of the mass and of the electric energy. This model is long in matter. The number 207542. What is the means? The means is that 300 millions of meters in length are transformed in a ratio having in the numerator the light speed in the vacuum, and in the denominator the number of 1 second that is big in meters what remains by 300 of millions less the c-speed. In the denominator a lot of matter big 207542. If we have in the unitary denominator this lot of matter, what is the part that every matter carries as a vector, as a unitary vector? And we have the surprise that dividing the c-speed in the vacuum by the number of the model, we have that every matter carries the quantity of these matters, 1000 more 444.4 90551310 until the dimension of the angstrom of the unit of the atom. And what is this quantity? In 1000 it is all the mass. In the number that is formed from 4 that is 444.4, we have the space having 3 dimensions in the 444 entire, and the 4 dimension as the time, the decimal time, having so 444 it is full, it is 10 everyone. And afterward, we have 1, 3, 1, 0, 0, that are 5 dimensions, that we can consider in the atomic units of the space. So, 1 with 4, 0 is the reality, 10 raised to 4. 3,000 is the mass 1,000 in the 3 dimension of the space x, y, z. And finally, 1, 0, 0 is the section, the absolute section of the reality, that is 100 multiplied by 100, so 10 raised to 4.
In this number 1,444.49055513100, we have the mass 1000 in the unit of the mass existing in 1 meter cubed, plus 44 in the 2 presence of the unit of the space, the cycle 10 raised to plus 1, and the unit of the time, the cycle 10 raised to minus 1. "44 is the unit 1 when it needs 4 components as a space-time and 11 other as the velocity 10 as space and 1 as a time. In fact, dimensions 4 multiplied by dimensions 11 are 44 dimensions. So, when we have this number that is in its entire 1,444, we have that 1,000 is all the mass, and to it is added the definition of the unit 44 in the unit of the space, that is in the cycle 10 raised to plus 1, and in the cycle of the time, that is 10 raised to minus 1. When we do this calculation, we have until 1,444, the 3 dimensions of the space of the reality, 0.4, the 1 dimension of the decimal times of the reality numbered with the 4 dimensions, 3 of the space and 1 of the time. Afterward, we have at sides 1/1000th 90 quantity. It is the energy of the 10 cycle in the 100, that is 10 multiplied by 10, and represent all the energy that we have when we multiplied action for reaction and consider 10 every one. So 90 is all the energy. Afterward there is 55, and it is all the electromagnetism, because the size of the unit is 10 raised to -5. 10 raised to 5 is the quantity of the electromagnetism, and the inverse size 10 raised to -5 is its unit. And when we have 55, we have 50 as the real, and 5 as the exactly magnetic quantity. In fact, the first 5 exist at the 4th dimension of the reality, and the second 5 exists at the dimension of the electromagnetism. The remaining part, 13100, we have already seen. It is the first one, the atomic reality 10 raised to 4 of the angstrom. The 3 in 1000 are the 3-dimension x, y, z in the quantity 100 of the mass, and 100 is exactly the energy 10 multiplied by 10 between action and reaction involving 10 angstrom. So the unit that we have here to see and to consider is really what 1 meter carries. It carries all the mass, all the unit of the cycle of the space, all the unit of the cycle of the time, all the energy 10 existing in 100, all the electromagnetism at his dimension, and all the reality of the angstrom, of the atomic unit. Every 1 meter carries this all, and to carry the quantity of the light in the vacuum in its speed, we need exactly 2.0752 quantity as these. And now we have a thing more important. We have to consider how it is 1 second in 1 day.
is important because this ratio formed dividing the c speed by the number 207,542 and getting 1444.49055 131.00, this number represents the same quantity that is present in every mass free in its rotation. And I show to you in what a way. We have the mass of our planet that is turning in unitary second, that are which are 86400. This is the number of second minutes in one day.
We have seen that 1,444 is the unit in unitary units of the ratio between the speed and the model, the unitary model of the electromagnetism, dividing from the velocity of the light by the number of the unitary meters that need, we have 1,444. Well, in the rotation of our planet, we have 1 day of 86,400 seconds, and 1,440 first minutes. Therefore, 1 first minute is all the real cycle of 1 second minute. Do you understand? We, when consider the velocity of the light, we refer it to 1 second minute, and 1 second minute is in its ratio with the fullness of the rotation of the mass that is in 1 day, exactly as all the part of the space, because in that number that we have only as space 1,000 as mass, and only 44 in the 10 cycle of the space. This is the reason for which we have only 1,440. 440 multiplies the 44 dimensions of the unit only by the 10th cycle of the space. What is multiplied for the unit of the time, there is not, because in the Earth we have a mass that is in the space, and whose rotation is the time. The time we consider in the unit of 1 second. And what is all the cycle of 1 second? Respecting the dimension in which 1 second exists in the 10 cycle of 1 second. So it exists in 10 seconds. But it exists in 10 seconds in every component of the space. And the component of the space are 6. Because the space has 3 dimensions, but in every of the 3 dimensions we have 2 possibilities to go in a direction and in that equal and contrary. So 3 multiplied by 2 form 6 directions. And 6 directions in the 10 cycle of the second is 1 first minute. And this 1 first minute is exactly in 1 day as the quantity 1044 tenths. This is the demonstration of what is the ratio between the velocity of the light and 1 second. When we have that division between the number of meters that are 299 etc. and are meters, they exist every second. So there is a division with 1 second. And this division for 1 second, when the rotation is of all the mass, happens in 1 first minute, that is only one of a lot of 1000 for 4 tenths. And this is the real demonstration. 1 second is equal to 1044 tenths as its full rotation. And in fact, it is the first minute that is all the rotation of 1 second minute.
Well, when the unit is 1 second, we have that all the turning of the second is the minute, the first minute, not the second. The first minute contains 60 second minutes and are the general quantity of all the movement of 1 second. In fact, 1 second, it is a unit, but its cycle is 10, and it is in movement in 6 directions. So 6 multiplied by 10 is 60, and 60 seconds are exactly 1 minute. Well, how many minutes there are in 1 day of rotation? They are 60 in 1 hour and 24 in 1 day, because in 1 day we have 24 hours, and every hour contains 60 first minutes. So multiplying 24 by 60, we have the number 1440. The ratio that we have in the velocity of the light was 1444.4. Here result only the part of the cycle 1440, because the 44 multiplied by decimal, it is time.
I show it again. The number of the quantity carried by every 1 meter in the speed is 1,444.49055,131,00 until the atomic unitary dimension. And it contains the 1000 mass of 10 in power of 3 dimension, plus the unit formed between the 4 dimensions of the space-time and the 11 dimension of the 10 cycle, that is 10 as a space and 1 as time, gets the multiplication between 4 and 11, that is 44. So 44 is 1 unit in its 44 dimensions of the unit. And when 44 multiplies 10 raised to plus 1, it refers the unit of the space, because the cycle of the space is of 10 units. The cycle of the time is 10 raised to minus 1. But here, in the quantity of the prime minutes that exist in 1 day of the rotation of our free planet, there are not. And why? Why? It is time. 44 multiplied by 1/10 is time of the unit, and the time of the unit here is represented by 1 second. You see? Are you able to understand what is the meaning of these numbers? They have a great meaning when you see it. You have to understand what they represent. If you do not do it, you see quantity, and at the end of this perception you have understand nothing, and you say the number is this because it is this, without any intelligence, without any to understand what the numbers represent.
So we can observe that when we consider the light speed in the vacuum, it is contained in the general form, presenting also the time. In the amassment of the mass in the earth, there is only space, and the time is its movement. So we have only 1440, but all the quantity of minutes that are in one day is that denominator that we have before. In that denominator we do not see it because it was unitary, and we were in condition to perceive only the other part, and so the velocity 299,729 458, if I remember. This is the speed of the light. The one that is under, that is the model, it is big, a quantity of meters, but they are equal to 1 second. And so when we have the quantity of meters every 1 second, we have the same that all the movement of 1 second in 1 minute. And we have to consider that the mass, if it is amassed and it is in rotation, it is only a quantity of mass amassment in space. The time is represented only through his rotation, and so when we have the 1 second as the unit of the time, we have the exact unit, because in 1 day of rotation of the mass, we have that with 1 second we run all the 1 minute. That is all the movement of the unit made by 1 second. That, I repeat, in its cycle is 10 seconds. And we have 6 components, every one made by 10 as the cycle of the unit. And so they are 60. It is 1 minute. And having 1 minute, we have exactly the part unitary of the number 1440. Another consideration we must do, because the quantity 1444 is made multiplying the number 38 by itself. 38 multiplied by 38 is 1444. The plane, the area formed when we have the side 38. But what is 38? It is the reality, 1 in the time of the cycle and 30 in the space. We have simultaneously 10 like the time and 30 like the space of that time. So we have 10 plus 30, we have 40. 40 is represented by the whole, but the whole is a volume formed from an area and a flow. When the area is unitary, its side is 1 and 1. It has 2 dimensions. So when we keep from 40 2 dimensions, we cut away the plane unitary and have in 38 only the flow. This is the reason for which multiplying 38 by 38 we have the area of the only flow, 38 in a side and 38 in the other side. And when we do the calculation of this area, it is 1444. And the 1444 represented only the unitary part that we have dividing the c-speed from the model in meters that is not considered in its quantity in the light speed, because it is like it was 1 meter, but it is 1 second. In the ratio that we have, in which the numerator is the light speed in meters, the denominator is the second, 1 second. And we have seen in the day in which the mass of the Earth turn, and in all the movement of 1 second contains in 1044 tenths all the day. These considerations are of the most importance and are the demonstration that the numbers are not casual. They have a reason to be so as they are. For example, one day that in units of second contains 86,400 seconds, it is obtained by the number that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Here you see that we have the increasing of the number in every digit, and its reason is the advancing of the unit, and when the unit advance, it is this the remaining number until the number is in the existence and do not go out of our vision. We have 6 dimensions and we have 6 numbers. Well, in this representation we must understand that the first 2 digits represent the product, the multiplication by 12, and the reality in its unit, 10 raised to the 4 dimensions of the space-time. The 12 sides crossing 1 cube, having as the side the dimensions of the reality, the bigness of 10 raised to 4, every one. They are 12, and this unitary model of the volume is cut away, and it remains only the residual part, the remaining part, that is 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, this number, decimal number 3, 4, 5, 6 is at 4 dimensions, and one only dimension of this number is obtained dividing 3, 4, 5, 6 by 4, and we have 8, 6, 4. They are the quantity in number of the flow of the mass when its area is the complete area made by 10 multiplied by 10.
This is the quantity in absolute. But we have a volume, we have a cube. In a cube we have 12 lines that contain the cube. The sides are for 4 and 4. 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. The first 12 so represent the unitary model, and it is cut away. Remains only the increasing of 3, 4, 5, 6. It is a number. It is a number in 4 dimensions. And when we make the calculation of 1 dimension alone, the number 3, 4, 5, 6 divided by 4 result to be 8, 6, 4, and are the quantity of flow when we have the area 10 multiplied by 10, that is 100. The second minute in 1 day represents a volume having 100 as the section and 8, 6, 4 as the flow. But this flow is 1/4 of the number increasing 3, 4, 5, 6. But how I have told to you, in this number is latching the 1, 2. 1, 2, and afterward 3, 4, 5, 6 represent with 4 dimension of 0 the reality 10 raised to 4. So when the unit of the reality is 10 raised to 4, that is all this quantity, 1, 2 is numbered in this quantity, and it is the reality of the 12 side of the cube, and the unitary cube is cut away. Remains only 3, 4, 5, 6 as a unit in 4 dimensions. 1 only alone is the number contained in the second of 1 day, that in numbers are 8, 6, 4. The 2, 0 afterward is because the flow 8, 6, 4 multiplied by the section, the absolute section, having as its side 10. 10 multiplied 10 is 100. 100 multiplied 8, 6, 4 is all the quantity of the second minute. So we have had the confirmation that 1 second minute is really the unit of the time, because, I repeat, finally, all its movement is that of 1 minute, and the quantity of minutes, of first minutes in 1 day is exactly 1044 in 10 cycles. Goodbye.
Also, in the C2 of Einstein, it is latching the unitary model. I'll do the demonstration. I present this, the squared of the C, of the C squared. In the first line, there is the exact number 9. So, if we cut away from the exact number 9 the quantity C2, we have a quantity squared. And the number, the exact number, is that 12, etc., that we are perceiving. Are you seeing the unit of 12 and afterward the unit of 44? Well, we considered that this is a quantity squared. The model in line, expressed in line, is made by the squared radix of this number. We have a quantity squared, but we need a quantity that is in line. Well, when we rise to one middle, that is, when we do the squared radix of the number, we have a number whose entire part is the number that you see in the second line. If we consider that the dimension of the electromagnetism is 10 raised to 5, expressed in the digit of the electromagnetism, we have exactly 1, 1, 1. That is the representation in line of a cube which has 100 as its area, and 11 dimension as the flow, flowing at 10 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. So the number 111 represents the area 100 and the flow 10, whose multiplication is 1000. That is all the mass. Why we must do the multiplication? Because if we have the flow that is 10 in the space, but in the front we have not 1 but 100, we have 100 quantity 10, and they are 1000. It is all the model of a cube which is present as a cube having the side 10 of the cycle of the unit, and it exists as 1000 of mass in the time of 1. And so we have also that 1 that is added in the line of the flow to 10, the cycle, and that is the denominator 1 of a cube having 10 as its side. This is the clear demonstration that in the C2 of Einstein it is lacking precisely the unitary model of the presence, that is the cube whose side is the cycle 10 of the unit.